This is a little nerve-wracking because Dan actually is on the board of ArtsLink, so technically he's my boss, and I think he might take a little bit of umbrage with my perspective tonight, but I'm going to roll the dice.
Your slides have to go fast.
I'm not even going to look at them. So I would like to start my talk tonight with a question. I'd like to ask you to think, picture in your mind's eye, what drives the New Brunswick economy? So I would imagine probably the kinds of images that you're seeing, pipelines, oil and gas, mining, farming, forestry, maybe a little bit of IT. I would imagine for most of you, an image that wasn't top of mind is arts and culture. And it's not surprising if it wasn't, but it should be. And here's why. Consider this figure, $1 billion. That is what arts and culture puts into the New Brunswick economy, nearly, just under $1 billion a year. I found that a shocking figure, and especially when I considered it in the context of the GDP of this province, which is around $9 billion a year. That means art and culture is almost, actually more than 10% of economic activity in New Brunswick. We don't tend to think of arts and culture in that way. We don't necessarily think of it as a sector or an industry, but it's business. It's a big business. And I think that it's probably as important as mining or forestry, perhaps even more so, because there's not just the economic benefits, there's a whole host of other benefits that arts and culture brings. And I'll get to that literally in 1 minute. But I would like us to think of artists as a natural resource that is just as valuable, if not more so, than fish or forest or ore or oil. Artists are, of course, a human resource. And in New Brunswick, arts and culture is statistically categorized with information and recreation. Together they employ, those sectors, more than 12,000 people. That's more than forestry, fishing, mining, quarrying, oil and gas combined. So that means that those industries that we think of, at least I think of, as sort of the traditional backbone of the province's economy, and even the current economy, those actually employ fewer people than arts and culture, as well as information and recreation. So there's that economic activity and there's the jobs. But there's also an amazing investment return in arts and culture. And there's a strong multiplier effect. And I'll share a couple figures with you to show what I mean by that. The City of Toronto found that every dollar they put into arts and culture generated $5.15 from other levels of government, $5.48 from the private sector, and $7.12 in earned revenues. So that $1 put back or generated nearly $20 in economic activity. There were some similar results in Alberta. The Alberta Arts Foundation, they give grants to artists. They give to 500 arts organizations. They found that the $35 million in grants that they gave created $235 million in direct economic activity. So, I mean, we could all retire on the arts. We could figure out a way to tap into that. So, Dan, I know you're not going to enjoy this whole economic argument, but of course, there's a whole cultural and social argument to be made for the arts. And I think it's really important. We're talking about fracking in this province. Often it feels like economic activity, we have to compromise something. But art doesn't ask us to perhaps risk our human health or our environmental health or our relationship with our province's First Nations. Instead of those kinds of drawbacks, art actually brings a whole host of other benefits. Art is green. Art is sustainable. Art makes us smarter and healthier. It makes us happier. Art makes us feel more connected to our communities. We all know Richard Florida makes, his theories of making cities more livable, but I think we probably experience the truth of that as well. Art can be used as a tool for social development, as a tool for therapy, art in education. Art can help us develop when we're kids, and it can help us age creatively. Art is adaptable. It's a very flexible tool, mode of expression. It's exportable. And art is not just for a highfalutin, white-collar crowd. Art is for all of us. In New Brunswick, 99.7% of people in the last year took part in art, culture, heritage event. It's for all of us. And I think that's because art is fun. And because it's fun, it means that it's sustainable. And so that is why I'm looking at artists and thinking they are a natural resource. And the great thing is, they're a renewable natural resource. We can make more artists. We can grow artists. We can develop artists. But we need to give them fertile ground. We need to support them and help them thrive. Like those little seedlings, and I have this image that perhaps should have been my final slide of a potential billboard in the future. Instead of New Brunswick, the tree growing, certain company, the tree growing company, you say New Brunswick, the artist growing province. Thank you.